Hello, I'm Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. We're doing Holy Week this week, and today is Good Friday. It's the day of the crucifixion of Jesus. And I'm standing here in front of a picture of Texas Tech University. Texas Tech is not just my law school, but it's the large university in Lubbock, Texas, where I grew up. Now, Lubbock is known as the hub of the plains, to those of us in Lubbock at least. And by that, it's meant that out of the South and Midwest plains, you've got this central city, and to us, every road led to Lubbock. And so Lubbock, as the hub of the plains, was the center for the spokes to come in. In a very real sense, the cross is the hub of all human history. Christ's crucifixion. It's not simply Jesus as a dating artifice so that we can say, it's 2021 AD or something like that. In a very real sense, the cross itself, all roads before and all roads after, all go back to the cross. The work that Jesus was doing there is the central work of God in a loving rescue of human agony and pain and isolation and all of the misery that comes from this sin and death and disease and this fallen world and hurt and bad relationships. All of that is rescued and redeemed through the death of Christ. And so when you look at the death of Christ and you understand that's the purpose behind Christ coming, all of a sudden, the passage, especially as it's told in John 19, takes on special significance for me, and it's part of what I'm thinking about this Good Friday. I hope you'll join me. It's a special passage because Jesus is on the cross, and he's not just there fresh. It's been a grueling last 24 hours, little to no sleep, a lot of abuse. He's been beaten, he's been whipped, he's physically exhausted and beat. And just in the process of the pain and the misery associated with hanging on a cross, your lungs can't breathe. You're not in a position. He's totally destroyed as a person physically at this point in time. His throat's got to be thoroughly parched. He's got to have no ability to really get that breath and to speak very clearly. And Jesus doesn't die until he knows that he has finished everything that God sent him to do. He's got to be aware of the fact he's taken on the sins of humanity, that he has done what he was there to do. And so John tells us that once Jesus knew that all was finished, he didn't just die. First, he said two things. He said, "I thirst." Now that had to be a whisper. Christ did not have his throat's dry. He's got the limitations of that human body there. So he says, "I thirst," and there is some sour wine, some vinegar there, and someone takes some hyssop and puts a sponge at the end and holds it up to Jesus so he can wet his lips and his throat. Because I think that Jesus, while he needed liquid and could whisper for liquid, he needed that liquid to be able to shout. Because that's what he did. After he was able to wet his lips and his throat and get something in there, then he declared, then he shouted, "Tetelestai," it is finished. And he gave up his spirit and he died. That's the hub of history. It was finished for everything that had happened before and everything that would come after. He knew it was finished. He shouted the shout, not of someone who had been defeated, but that's a victor's cry. It's over. Sin has been paid for. The price has been finished. Redemption is humanity's gift from God. God's love has been expressed in a way that only God could express it. The death of Christ is not defeat. It's a victory over death that God invites his people to share. That's my meditation this Good Friday. I hope you'll think about these things. I hope you'll find a church and worship on Easter Sunday when the celebration of the empty tomb is proclaimed by Christians all around the world. God bless you. I'll see you next week.